All right, yesterday we finished the Sichot, the speech of the Lubavitcher Rebbe from Likuti Sichot, Aleph, and it talked about how we can make ourselves into a korban, a sacrifice to the Creator. And we said you don't have to kill yourself, you don't have to worry about it, but you don't need to go to the Holy Temple in Jerusalem right now. I mean, we do actually need to. The fact we do need, but while we don't have it, so there still is a way to make a sacrifice. So the Rebbe said, first of all, you have to check yourself out. The sacrifice, the animal, means your animal soul. It has to be without any major blemishes. And then the Rebbe gave us a big speech about how to do that. And you can look in yesterday's class and you can see what we're talking about. Then the Rebbe said, after that, then you have to take out the blood. What does it mean, take out the blood? Take out your heat and your excitement about this world. Do things in the world. You have to be in the world. It's very unnecessary. But the world should not control you. You should control the world. And then afterwards, you can get excited. That means be in the fire. You're excited about God. And that fixes up the whole world. Okay. That's what we learned yesterday. Now let's learn today. It's a little bit long, but we have 3 days. God willing, we'll continue on. All right, here the Rebbe is going to talk about the connection between Vayikra, this week's Torah portion, Torah reading. One second. Let me just go ahead and see. Yeah. Between this week's Torah reading and Purim. Purim is going to be next week. And especially there's a very unusual, practice in Purim. And it says that a person should get so drunk on Purim that he doesn't know the difference between blessed is Mordechi and cursed is Haman. That's what it says. A person should get drunk on Purim so that he doesn't know the difference between sins are bad and commandments are good. Shouldn't know the difference. That doesn't make any sense. Why should you? So we'll learn that. But that, nevertheless, it is. There's a lot of ways that you can get around this. They say one of the ways is to go to sleep. Another way you can drink milk too, makes you tired to go to sleep. You can drink a little bit more. In any case, you're not supposed to get so drunk that you might do something that's against the Torah or against, humanity or whatever. So, but it nevertheless, this does not in any way detract from the practice. You want to call it a commandment? It's not a commandment, but it's a part and parcel of Purim that you're supposed to get so drunk that you don't know the difference between Oror, Haman, that Haman should be cursed, and Borach Mordechai, and that blessed is Mordechai. Oh, in simple languages, you should get so drunk you don't know the difference between Hitler is a bad guy and the Lubavitcher Rebbe is a good guy. That's pretty severe. But that's what it says. What can I do? That's what it says. And we're going to talk about that. Let's go. Parshas Vayikra. This is in Yiddish, so you'll learn Yiddish at least. Parshas Vayikra. Leikman Bekamas Shanim. We learn many years in the Shabbos, and the Shabbos was his Besim Smichos, which is right next to Purim, like this year. From this is verstandig. It's understood. When is Purim, by the way, this year? It's Tuesday night, right? Next Tuesday night. Let me have a look over here. Excuse me 1 minute. That is right, wrong. Wrong. It is next Wednesday night. That's right. In regular cities, in Jerusalem, it's Thursday night. Okay. 1 second. So Vayikra always comes right near Purim. From this is verstandig, so it's understood. As in Parshas Vayikra, it must be somehow or other that in Vayikra, this Torah portion that we're reading about the sacrifices and everything, this is hinted at the highness of Purim. The topic and the thing of Purim. Because it says in Milas Shal in Vos's Bestate, the Inyan Shal Milas of Purim. What is so great about the holiday of Purim? It's a holiday, a Jewish holiday, that's pretty good. What's so special in Purim? And how is that connected to this week's Torah portion? Now, the Rebbe wants to connect everything. Everything has a message, and not only that, all the messages are intertwined. which, by the way, that's the same thing in the world. Everything in the world has a message, and every message of everything in the world is interconnected with everything else. It's one whole amazing symphony of meaning. Billions and billions of people, and everything is interconnected. Okay, maybe that's a little bit too much for us, but at least let's take a little something. Let's understand something. The connection between this week's Torah portion by Yikra and Purim. What's so great about Purim? I know from the Chiyuvim from Purim, one of the obligations in Purim is verstandig, which is understood that this is the commandments, the customs of this day. This indicates on the content of the day. What is one of the main things of Purim? Chayev inish, a person is obligated, lebesumi, to get drunk. The Puria and Purim, ad, until the lo yada, you do not know, bain, the difference between Oror Haman, cursed is Haman, uburach Mordechi, and Mordechi is blessed. Vibalt as the chiyuv lebesumi, because this commandment to get drunk is ois getayelt, is different from the other obligations on Purim. Is their meat? Why? Now, what do you on Purim? There's four main things you're supposed to do on Purim, and this thing of getting drunk is like sort of a sub, what do you thought? How do they call it? All of a sudden the word left my mind. Anyway, it's like a clause, a side clause in one of these obligations. What are the four obligations? You have to hear the Megillah in the daytime, in the nighttime and the daytime. You have to hear the Megillah twice, nighttime and daytime. You have to give gifts to the poor. At least one gift, right? One gift of two things to one poor person. You have to give, I'm sorry, Mishloach manot ish l're'ehu. I'm sorry, I messed that up. You have to give gifts to the poor. You should give one gift to two different people. Each person should receive one gift. Matanot levionim, right? And then find two people, poor people, give each one of them something. Then you're supposed to give presents to your friends. At least one present, matanot levionim, two things to one friend. Right? That's what a bottle of beer and an apple. And you have to make a meal. Mishte. You have to make a meal. And as a sub-clause of this meal, you're supposed to get drunk. Sort of. You're going to see it's not so, what I'm saying. You're supposed to get so drunk you don't know. Okay, one of the differences between this thing about getting drunk, that it makes it into a fifth clause in itself, is number one, is their einzige chiyuv, it's the only commandment of the day, versus l'maylam medida. It is unlimited. It says you're supposed to get so drunk that you don't know, right? It doesn't say you're supposed to eat until you throw up. It doesn't say that you're supposed to give gifts until you're poor. It doesn't say, right, you're supposed to listen to the Megillah until you can't stand it anymore. No, all those, there's a limit. But in this, it says you're supposed to get so drunk until you don't know the difference between Mordechi and Haman. It's the only commandment that has no limit. Number two, the Bechina Doif Bisumi, this idea of getting drunk is an offer of Shalamaylam Medida, and you have to get drunk in a way which is above understanding, above limit. Adaloyada, the difference between Haman is cursed and Mordechi is blessed. In the time when is lo yada means you don't know the difference. Vegan andrinyan about anything else is this nitkain bechina. You don't have any power of discernment. On air is darmit nit mekayim dechiyuv lebasur the Purim. If you know about other things, right? But still you know the difference between Haman and Mordechi, then you haven't fulfilled the obligation. And therefore, verstandig it's understood as the chiyuv from the Besumi, Veistoif, this is tochen penimi, something very deep on Purim, on oifen tochen hamyuchad, and something special about Purim. In other words, the person he gets so drunk, he doesn't know the difference between right and left. He doesn't know the difference up and down. He doesn't know the difference between his house and the Empire State Building. That's not enough. If you still know the difference between Or Haman and Baruch Mordechai, you haven't really done this. I mean, I personally have never seen or heard of anybody that got to this level, but we'll see. And still remain conscious. I mean, you can get unconscious. Nevertheless, that's what it says in the Talmud. What do you want to do? What do you want? It says you're supposed to get so drunk that you don't know the difference between Or, Haman, and Baruch Mordechai. We can also say the obligation to get drunk in Purim is in the Yemei Mishta V'Simcha. It's part of this thing of making a meal. Versteht in Megillah Esther, das heißt, it means the Basumi is a din of them ofen a mishta. What type of a meal are you supposed to make? Like I said, it's like a subclause. Yesh Lomar, we can say that the commandment from making a meal and being happy in the meal, this is a little bit different from all the other commandments which the rabbis fixed up in the days of Purim. Darmid, because was their tzchiyuv, the obligation to have this commandment of making a meal and being happy is faran, the ganzen tag, it's the whole day from Purim. It doesn't say you have to make one meal and that's it. If the fact is, if you make one meal, it's okay. But the simple meaning of the word is, the whole day is supposed to be, it says, Yemei Mishte V'Simcha. It says it's a day of feasting. What does it mean? Ganzen tag from Purim. The kol rega, every single instant. The fact is, most of the people in Chabad, I don't know how it is, but they almost don't eat a meal at all because they go to army bases and they're all around all the places. We used to have some. They come and they make the meal. A lot of them, they make the Purim meal after Purim is already over, right? They were already they went to the jails and they went to the streets and they went to this and this, and finally they had a chance to eat a couple of hamantashen or something like that in the whole day. To get drunk, they could do, unless they were driving, but that they could do. But nevertheless, they all got back home, and nevertheless, says the Rebbe, it is a commandment to make the meal of Purim the whole entire day. Andrish visa is mit andre mitzvahs, which is different from the other days of holidays of Purim. The Dugma, for instance, the mitzvah from Mikra Megillah, reading the Megillah. Mikra is the Tshas related Megillah. When you read the Megillah of Purim, one time in the nighttime, one time in the daytime, that's it. You finished. You completely did the mitzvah. Even the commandment from Matanot Levionim, the commandment of giving gifts to the poor. Giving gifts to the poor. Plus mitzvah, the harbos mehem, which it says you should give a lot of charity. I mean, all you really have to do is just give two poor people, each one give one thing. That's all you have to do. It says, but it says you're supposed to give as much as possible. You're supposed to not suffice with just one person or two people. Is the aber nit kein chiyuv, but it's not an obligation on the whole day to give charity. Masha ein kein mishta v'simcha, which is not the case of making a meal and being happy. Vibald as a state, because it says yemei mishta v'simcha. It says these are the days of feasting and joy. Mishta v'simcha means besmicha sum vort yemei. There has to be the days of the whole day. Not like mishloach manot, not like giving gifts to your friends and giving charity to the poor, which it says afterwards. So therefore it says, where it says that the whole entire day, the days are devoted to, right? It says the days are devoted to, they're devoted to what it says before. Yemei mishta v'simcha. The whole days are supposed to be happy. As their chiyuvs, if yeder rega, every single day, every single moment of the day, nor durch zayin makayim zayin the mitzvahs pamachas. But if you do the mitzvah just once in the daytime, is virt emnishach. I'll call rega v'rega from their ganzen tag. It is like you're doing it the whole entire day. But because this obligation of making a meal and to get drunk, it is azay zol zayin, that it should be in an oven and away from adalo yada, until you don't know between borach Haman, between cursed is Haman, cursed is Haman, and blessed is Mordechai, as haste is dach, as the chiyuv. So the obligation from to get drunk until you don't know, this means the whole entire day. Is oich from them, so from this, which is understood, in addition to what we said before, that you're supposed to get drunk until you don't know, as in the mitzvah, that the commandment of, now nobody does this, I'm just saying nobody does this, but the fact of the matter is the Rebbe says that there is it's a how do you want to call it? It's a topic. It's a topic. It is an issue that you should do. So somehow or other there must be that this idea of getting so drunk that you don't know the difference between bad and good, that this somehow or other is the essence of Purim. Mervi the under mitzvahs more than the other commandments of the day. So again, let me just make a short summary. The Rebbe says there is this week's Torah portion, Vayikra, has some sort of a connection with Purim. Let's pick out how it's connected to Purim. So first of all, let's talk about the Purim part, and then in the end, we'll talk about the Vayikra part, the part about the sacrifices in this week's Torah portion. The holiday of Purim is a very unique holiday in a lot of ways. But one of the most unique things in the holiday, maybe the one that how do you say, that symbolizes the holiday better than anything else, right, is getting drunk. Purim, you get drunk. And Purim, it says you can get drunk until you don't know the difference between Mordechai and Haman. You don't know. And not only that you can't, you're supposed to. It's an obligation. And not only that, says the Rebbe, if you look closely, you'll see that this obligation really carries out through the whole entire day. Okay, it shouldn't be that nobody does it. No one gets drunk the whole entire 24 hours of Purim. Right? Nobody does it unless a person happens to be a drunkard anyway. But to get drunk, nobody does it. But the fact of the matter is this commandment carries out through the whole entire 24 hours of Purim. So this, in some ways, this is the characteristic of Purim, to get drunk. Every single instant, it's somehow or other, the holiday is screaming out, I'm drunk, I don't know the difference between Mordechai and why is it a good thing? What type of a holiday is that you don't know the difference between the Nazis and the Jews? That's crazy. What type of a ridiculous holiday is that? But that's what we're supposed to do. And that's somehow or other, this is the main characteristic of Purim. This really shows what Purim. Let's understand. Via Sheikh, first of all, how is it possible that the Torah can obligate a Jew, Erzol Zion, Zoifil, that he should be drunk? Business of Nitvesin, that he doesn't know between Haman is bad, is cursed, and Mordechai is a blessing. You don't know that. You get so drunk, you don't know the difference between a curse and a blessing? And the Torah says you should do it? Sog Mefarshim, there's some of the commentaries that say, as this means, the lo yada lachshov, that you don't know how to, you get so drunk that you cannot make the calculation between the gematria, the numerical value of the words Boruch Mordechai, Oror Haman, and Boruch Mordechai. You don't know how to make the difference between the numerical value of Boruch Mordechai and Oror Haman, which I think is what, 501 or something like that. Look, 500 something. The shiur from the Basumi. Okay, it says that some people say that. Okay, that's okay. I mean, it's sort of a logical, at least it makes the Torah look good. I mean, the Torah tells you to get drunk. You don't know between blessing and cursing. So there's an easy way out. It means you should get so drunk that you don't know how to make the calculation. The shiur from the Basumi says this doesn't make any sense. I says, Rabbi, I don't accept that, because the thing about getting drunk that you don't know, it doesn't mean that you don't know how to calculate. This is not connected to the numerical value of Oror Haman and the numerical value of Boruch Mordechai. When a person is drunk, is erdach bechalal nit shayach so oiski rechnen kein shum gematria. If a person is so drunk, he can't make any sort of calculations. He doesn't know how to make the difference between a calculation between a loaf of bread and a house. Afilu wasach und einfachener vom Arur Haman, even a simple thing like a Haman or a Haman and Borach Mordechai, Heint for Vos, and for things which are much simpler from Borach Mordechai and Haman. Here there's a difference like between one number or whatever. I didn't make the calculation. It's Heint for Vos, Zok the Gemara. Why does the Gemara say Ad the between Borach? It doesn't say between the calculation, the number, the gematria of this. It means the actual topic of this evil person and the good person. We're not talking about you don't know how to do mathematics. Base. Gematrias, this is which are in the Torah, this is only this true. It's not just an accident. It shows something very deep. But the gematria just indicates on two things which have some sort of, if they have the same number, they have between some sort of a connection, an Einlichkeit, some sort of a similarity, an inner similarity. Kumuvan, from them, was is muvur in the Tanya, like it explains in the Tanya, that the Nivroim was very angerufen mit nomen, that the creations which have the same numerical value from other things is they have some sort of a connection to them and to the 10 utterances that were made when God created the world. Is this mitzad them the chayos aloki, because the godly life which is inside of them, this is somehow or other similar, and it comes from the original 10 utterances that God made. Right? When God said, let there be a firmament, whatever, so that's where rocks were created. Mimele is bestimmt, it's understood as he is oich faran, and enlichait, there's some sort of an internal similarity between different things because they have the same numerical value. Is according to this, now it's really not understood. Vos is the enlichait, which is the between Or Haman and Borach Mordechai. They have the same numerical value. I can't remember what it is. It's the same numerical value. I think it's 501. Want to count it out? Let's count it out. You can count it. Haman is 95. Arur that's 295. Another race that's 495. And 495 and 6 is 496. 490 is 500 and 1, and Aleph is 502. And I think that Borach Mordechai is the same thing. I think it's 503, but if you add up, okay. In any case, when things have a similar gematria, it shows that there's a similarity between them. And here, what do we want to say? That you don't know the difference between Borach Mordechai and Or Haman. Not that you don't know the similarity between them. Just because if you wouldn't know the gematria, you know they have the same one, so it's similar. So that's what you're not supposed to know. The explanation is the life force in every single thing is the internal, the intention of God, why he made that thing. Yeah. For what it was made. So if we have the creation from Or Haman, this whole that Haman, this cursed Haman was made, as this al Koman, that it comes down nafochu, that it should be transformed. Yes. 1 minute. It should be transformed. That's one of the things of Purim, that everything was turned over. As Yidden Durach Zayin Avoda, the Jews, by means of their service, one second, did I okay. Their service, by means of their service, that they can transform to Borach Mordechai. Like that's the inner intention from everything that's bad. Why did God create bad in the world? God created bad in the world so that it should either be destroyed totally and we should ignore it, or that we should transform it to make from darkness light. As kum tachoy, so it comes out that the godly light, the gematria, the intention from Oror Haman, is the same thing as Borach Mordechai. And this is the meaning, inner meaning, what it means, until you don't know. I think that maybe I skipped a page. I'm sorry, 1 second. Please, 1 second. I thought I was navigating this thing okay, but I don't think it was. 1 second. No, there it is. Yeah, no, I did okay. Okay. Right. Okay. So the inner intention. The inner intention, why God made Haman, is the same reason that he made Mordechai. Both of them are to serve God. Mordechai is to serve God in a way of doing good. And Haman, God created in order that we should transform him. That's the idea of Mahapech Zayin Arur Haman, that we should transform the cursedness of Haman to the blessing of Mordechai. Bizas lo yada, that's what it means, until you don't know the difference between Haman and Mordechai. So we see that there's no difference between them. From Oror Haman, because from Oror Haman will become blessed is Mordechai in a deeper way. Now, how you do this is a very tricky thing, because we're talking about dealing with bad, and bad has a big, how do you say, a temptation, a big temptation to conquer the person. That a person can fool himself. Evil fools you. The person thinks he's really doing good and he's doing bad. The Jewish people, when they worshiped the golden calf, they thought they were doing the greatest thing in the world, right? They were all so bad. So therefore, it has to be done very carefully. That's why we have to have Mordechai, but we'll see that in a deeper way. So, but nevertheless, the fact is, everything God creates is for good. Some of the bad things that he creates, the good thing that's going to come out of we can't see now, in the time of the Moshiach. But the idea is that everything is God's creation, and God creates bad things so that we should somehow or other transform them, or at least get the commandment of ignoring them in a deeper way. As zet, that or Haman, that a person can see the cursedness of Haman. There's zet gleich. He sees it that it's equal, exactly more. He sees that the really intention of Haman and the evilness of Haman is blessed be Mordechai. I mean, just think about it a second. If it wouldn't be for Haman wanting to destroy the Jews, we wouldn't have this whole holiday. The whole holiday depended on Haman. Okay, so now we can see why a person is supposed to get so drunk until he doesn't see the difference between them. Okay, what does this depend on getting drunk though? Here the Rebbe just explained it to us, so we don't have to get drunk. We can see that the reason that God created the Nazis and all these things is in order that we should transform it somehow or other to good, right? Should it bring out the essence of the Jews? Doesn't make any sense, but nevertheless, that's the fact. It says we should get so drunk that's the fact. Okay, how can it be? We'll find out that God willing, tomorrow. Be with us tomorrow, and we'll explain. Now let's do the Yom Yom. Change the battery or something. There we go. It's a tradition among the elders of Chabad that the Tanya is counsel, words of counsel, in other words, advice given by the Alter Rebbe to Anash. Anash means the Hasidim in their private meetings with the Rebbe during the years of 1780 to 1790, 10 years. In the summertime of 1792, 2 years afterwards, the Rebbe began arranging the Tanya in the form it is now. 1 year, there was already copies. In time, the opposers of a Hasidim, they changed the text for reasons, and therefore the Alter Rebbe decided he had to have it printed. That's one version. Another version is, for 20 years, the first Rebbe of Chabad wrote, he's the same Rebbe who wrote Likuti Torah that we're reading now. The first Rebbe of Chabad, Rabbi Shneur Zalman, he wrote the Tanya, and he painstakingly examined every single word, every letter. By the year 1795, it was pure and clarified, and he was given permission to copy it. He granted permission that the Hasidim could copy it down. They did it by hand, and he didn't want it to be printed. When they became very numerous, and a lot of people started corrupting them and saying, look what this rabbi is writing. So he had it printed. The Tzemach Tzedek, the grandson of the first Rebbe of Chabad, said that in his first Rosh Hashanah of his life, the Alter Rebbe spoke on the statement, Mashpiyim Oto. This was, in fact, the beginning of the first 3 chapters of the Tanya. But every single letter is, what's so important about the Tanya? The Tanya is perhaps the only book in the world that explains in easy to understand terms what is a Jew, what is God, what God wants from the Jews, why he created the world, and how it's all in the hands of the Jews doing Torah and commandments, and how to be happy in serving the creator of the universe every moment. God willing, 3 o'clock, be with us. Today we'll learn, I think today we'll learn about the meal offerings, the bread offerings, different types of bread offerings. That's what I think we'll learn today. Have a good day with Moshiach now.